Did y'all see Love is Blind Season 6 Hot Mess of a Reunion? Yes, if you didn't, go check it out. This is episode 27. The doctor is still in the house and we're still talking about Love is Blind Season 6 recap. Go ahead and cue my theme music. Hey Rebel, welcome to Untoxify Your Relationship. Here we will talk about all things healthy and how to get that toxic mess out of you and your partnership. I'm your host, Melissa Webb, a practicing licensed mental health therapist with 10 years experience. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it. Hey y'all, this is part 2 of Love is Blind Season 6 recap. We still have the doctor, Candance Anthony, in the building. We're going to pick up from where we left off. So now we're in North Carolina. So we're going to talk about the real world and then we're going to talk about the weddings because baby, it was only one. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Let's leave DR and let's go to these fancy townhomes that they had.
These clearly new builds, baby.
I mean, new builds. They like, listen, just furnish these up and ain't nobody been in these. Like, y'all the first people here. Where are they in? North Carolina, South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, somewhere. One of the Carolinas. Anyway, let's talk about the real world. Let's continue this conversation with Ken and Britt because right before we got on, I was like, let me go back and watch their story. So Ken and Britt, still talking about the black and white couple, they got back into these fancy townhomes, which by the way, Ken's I guess apartment or condo, whatever he had, that seasoning cabinet was very not black.
I said, baby, are you living? Who's taking care of you? Because there's nothing in this refrigerator. There's nothing in this fridge. Do you live here? Like, what is going on?
I was like, ain't no onion powder up in here. Not even Lawry's. Like, what are we?
Nothing.
No seasoning salt. Just, what was it, oregano and something else? I was like, oregano?
Things that don't match.
I was like, sir, are you, let's talk about culturally what's going on. But anyway, so they was having a conversation and it sounds like Brittany to me was having an issue with what they had in the pies. Because in the pies, I mean, they was popping in the pies. I mean, 2 peas, they were literally 2 peas in the pie. And they had like a really good relationship. I actually had really high hopes for them going into the DR. And then went to that conversation with AD and not blaming AD. I think that's a realistic question that any black person probably would have asked him, like, hey, like, how do you feel about that? And so since that conversation, like he was super distant from her. Soon as he got back in the real world, you know, they all got their phones and stuff. He was on his phone. I mean, did not get off. I was like, sir, get off your phone.
Very avoidant. Very avoidant.
He's like, oh, I gotta do these emails. You know, I'm a principal. I gotta do this, gotta do that. Okay, you gotta work, but you still got your partner here. Like, sidebar, do not be distracted like from your partner. Your phone will be there. Like your phone is your phone, but like your partner is like the person that you do life with, and y'all trying to do life together. You got to do some balancing between the phone and how y'all spend time together. Y'all spending time together, no phones involved, right? Do whatever you got to do to keep that spark going, because when you are distracted like that, the spark will leave. And that's what Brittany was talking to him about. She was just like, hey, I noticed in the past we were popping and now we're not. What's happening? And I think that was her thing. Ken took that as, you got an issue, I'm good. It says you got an issue, we don't need to be together. And I was like, what happened to, hey, I hear you. How do you feel about that? How can we fix this? It was mostly like, it wasn't like he was blaming her, but it was never like, this is how I feel about you. I feel XYZ. It was always just like, that's how you feel. I don't feel that way. And it's kind of like, you got the problem. And I'm just like,
well, I think at that point he was looking for a way out. I think
absolutely.
he had that conversation with AD. He had started to have some thoughts around like, not even, I think in the DR, he was still questioning, are we strong enough for this? And then once they got into the real world, and I'm pretty sure there's conversations being had, like, because they're going to work, they're around their family members and things like that. I think there was potentially some things said to him, and or he got to a point where he was like, am I strong enough for this? Am I prepared for this? Because just like you said, there was nothing wrong with AD asking him that question of, is she prepared to raise black kids? Just like I would not have taken any offense if any of the white girls had walked up to Brittany and said, "Hey, you do realize you are with a black man. You know the state of the country right now. Can you handle that?" Right.
Yeah.
And I think she shared at one point on the show that she had dated a black man before. So maybe that's why we didn't see that conversation happen. But I would not have been offended if that was a question that was asked.
Right.
I think the additional issue with that, and not just with Ken and Brittany, but going on to some of the other couples, is that once you start to have that messaging come back into place from like what's going on at work, what's going on with your coworkers, what's going on with your family, what you're seeing on social media, it just like being back in the day to day of things, you really saw people with whatever skills they had,
Hmm.
strengthen whatever learning opportunities they took advantage of. You started to see them regress. It's often like
Yeah.
we see people in therapy, like they'll be in a session and it's like, okay, cool, I got that, I can do this sounds good, I feel strong with this, and then you put them back in the situation and
Yeah.
it's just like, now what was I supposed to do, like where was
Yeah.
I supposed to go, because that pressure comes back and then you regress, which
Yeah.
goes back to my point of
Hmm.
like, I wish there was just a longer period of time. Like, why 6 weeks? Can somebody tell me why 6 weeks? Like, why 6 weeks? It's like you're asking for drama. But yeah, that
That's the
regression
whole
was,
point.
and it
That's the
is
whole
the
point.
point at this point. It is the whole point. But I believe that I think they all regressed emotionally.
Oh yeah.
We just saw Ken and Brittany do it, and really Ken, but we saw the both of them do it in such a way that
Yeah.
I don't think we even made it to see their family or friends.
No.
Yeah, so
Mm-mm.
they was out the game like, I'm good.
Yeah. And I like how you said like they got put back in this uncontrolled environment and
Mhm,
then here we are, we see regression. And something that my therapist, because yes, your girl see a therapist. Something my therapist
mhm,
always tell me is like we use this analogy of like a theme park. And she's like, hey, this situation happened, and this person was like, "Hey, get on this ride with me," and you're like, "No, I hate this ride. Get on this ride with me." "No, I hate this ride," and then it's like, "Get on the ride with me." "Okay, fine." Then that's you're back on this roller coaster,
mhm,
right? And scream at the top of your lungs like, "Oh to do, right?" To me, like me get on the roller coaster is being in an environment and doing the
mhm,
same things that I've done back in the day, right?
mhm.
Me not getting on the roller coaster and being like, I'm gonna go find a new ride. It's me doing something different, right? And
Absolutely.
all these people got back to where were we at? The Carolinas.
Mhm.
And they all got on they all got on their own roller coasters and
Yeah.
they were roller coasting like for real. They was like spiraling. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, I mean, like my girl, well, she's not really my girl, but Chelsea, she really, I mean, Chelsea really spiraled with some of the conversations she was having with Jimmy. The fact that she thought it was cool for her to put Jimmy out there with his friend and was like, "Well, you did it, and that's what you did." And he was like, "I told you not to say nothing." Like
Mhm,
she straight violated boundaries. She was
mhm.
self-sabotaging. Like she was like, "I don't want to do this anymore." And so when he left, he like, "No, don't leave." Like, whoa, like mixed
When she said, "I
messaging.
can't believe you left the apartment," and he was like, "To be fair, you said you were gonna leave." And I was like, "Yes, you
Yes.
can't, that threatening behavior is
Yes.
so unhealthy."
And
Like,
it's manipulative.
yes.
It's
Yes.
manipulative. Like you're trying to get him to stay by saying, "Don't leave." He gonna leave. And you say, "I'm
Mhm,
gonna leave." All right, bye. We'll figure it out. But right
mhm.
now, that's what you gotta do. You want me to leave? You said you was gonna leave. Like, don't try to get me. Don't get on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Don't get on the roller
Don't get on the
coaster.
roller coaster.
Oh, child. That was crazy. Anything else about the real world that you want to talk about?
Let's see. So the other couple that didn't make it, because I know we're going to the weddings next. So we see that Jimmy and Chelsea
Oh,
didn't make it, and we also see that Jeremy and Laura didn't make it. Here's my thing with Jimmy and Chelsea. Let's start with them. I want people to have a better understanding of the difference between someone calling you out on your behaviors and somebody calling you out as a person.
oh, come
And
on, come on, come on,
there was so
therapist.
much that Jimmy said that was just like, I want to pinpoint how I feel about a situation, right? I want to talk about this specific situation. And Chelsea also automatically took it as an attack.
As an
And it's
attack.
like, he's not attacking you, he's sharing how he feels. And
Yeah.
for her to then later on be like, I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around you. You?
You?
You feel like you have to walk on eggshells around him?
The
Like, that was really
victim.
wild to me. And it's like, if you don't provide your partner with the opportunity to just like say, hey, I'm calling out this situation, I'm calling out this behavior, it's not an attack on you as a person. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing with that, going back to her sharing about his relationship with his friend, is that too many people focus on like a situation. Now, so okay, let me back up. There are times where you have to talk about a specific situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? You did this on this day. I want to talk about that.
Right.
When they got to the later part and Chelsea was like, I mean, why is it okay? Why isn't it okay for me to talk about it? I already said it on the camera. Like I could just say it. Jimmy was talking about, I can't take the fact that you violated my boundary.
Right.
And because she tried to make it specifically about that situation. And
Yeah.
what he was saying was, well, yes, we've already talked about that specific situation. So we don't need to talk about that specific situation anymore. But the fact that you continue to bring it up
Mm-hmm.
lets me know that you are willing to continue to violate my boundary. So now we're talking about a theme. We've moved from a
Yes.
situation to a theme. And she
Yes.
kept trying to make it seem
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you don't want to be with me because you effed your friend and and she kept saying it. And I was like, baby girl, you were cutting this man like with 1,000 paper cuts. Like, stop
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so when he finally said, like, nah, I'm good. And she tried to make it seem, and then she also did the attacking. She felt
Yes.
attacked, and then she turned around and did the attacking. Well, you did this, and so are you, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. And it's like, you're proving his point. Like, if
And,
he says to
cut
you,
him
I
off in conversation several times. It's like,
Yes.
no, you stop talking because I'm going to talk now. And he's
Yes.
like, what?
It's like, do you hear yourself? Like, if
Yeah.
he says, I don't want to go to the altar, and then you start talking crap about him as a person, then to me, I kept saying, well, why do you want to go to the altar with him if you think he's that bad? Say
Mm.
thank you and peace
Mm-hmm.
out. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. But it became about, let me attack you, let me throw in these tears so that you will back down and give me what I want, which is to go to the altar for whatever reason. I don't know, but that's where she was trying to
Oh,
go.
because they want to be married. I think that's the whole point. Like they
Mhm,
get these people again, going back to the pies that want to be married. They're so blinded by who they are and who they're talking to that it's like
mhm,
I got my ring. Let's go, right?
mhm,
And I think she wanted that to go to the altar so bad, to be married so bad that she was willing to just self sabotage everything. That
mhm.
and she probably needs to work on some things as well therapeutically and but she
And
really said and she self-sabotaged. Like that
Mhm,
was very abusive behavior. At the
yeah.
end of the day, that was abusive behavior. That is what
Mhm,
abusive behavior look like. It doesn't always have to look like, you getting hit or whatever. Like that was mentally and emotionally abused.
mhm,
Let's just call
mhm,
it what it is.
mhm,
And she mentally, emotionally abused that man.
mhm,
And the
mhm.
fact that she manipulated him, because before they actually broke up, he was trying to break up with her, and then he manipulated her. I text you. I said, not that she got this man to stay with him, like with
Listen,
her.
you
Like
text me, you were
what?
like, finally, Jimmy's Jimmy's gonna leave Chelsea. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh baby, just keep watching. She gonna round that corner real quick.
And the way she did it was so manipulative. I think
Mhm,
that was a good example of how people can stay in toxic relationships,
mhm,
because you got someone who's so cunning and convincing, and other person like, well, there are good times that happen, and
mhm,
totally ignoring the bad things that have happened. They had some that argument the day before that they had when he was like, I'm done. That was a really bad, all the stuff that
yeah.
you just said happened in that conversation. And she convinced him to stay. I was like, whoo,
Mhm,
child. Like she knows how to use
mhm,
this power for bad.
yeah. And
Like,
did we get to see her family? I know we saw his friends.
no, we saw no her no,
I don't
no,
think
she
we
just
saw
had
her family.
friends. You saw her friends. Because his family came. It
Oh,
was
we
his mom
did
and
see her
dad.
friends because she turned that into an argument
She
too.
turned that into an
Girl.
argument too.
Ugh.
Of like, you didn't kiss me today. He was like, I kiss you every day. Like, what? It was
She wanted him to perform and he was not willing to perform, and she didn't like that because she wanted this extra blissful, oh, look at us, we're so in love.
Yep.
Girl,
The,
whatever.
the expectations, the expectations. Now on to Jeremy and Lauren.
So let's just get to the DM, okay?
Yes.
Let's start with Sarah Ann. She started that DM off fine.
Yes.
Hey, just checking in, blah, 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 blah. Where she went wrong was in saying, if there's still like, if you start to think and you want to come back, don't tempt anybody.
Right.
That's where she went wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he went wrong was deciding, I am on the side because a lot of people are like, oh, if you're engaged, then you shouldn't be able to have these conversations with somebody that you, because that's the person that you chose, and so you don't need to go back to the person that you didn't choose, and blah 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 blah. In the real world, outside of this experiment, yes. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's time there, there's been a process there, things of that nature. What Sarah Ann was saying that I actually agree with was my feelings deserve to be heard too, because this is such a short period of time, and there's still this closure that needs to happen. I believe that she deserves the closure. Right now, again, like I said, she went wrong with the second half of that text message. He went wrong with double tapping to where the heart popped up. He should have done like a thumbs up or like a hey, I hear you, but this is who I'm with. So there was definitely some implementation concerns, right? But I get what she was saying. And going back to the closure, I feel like there was an opportunity for Jeremy and Sarah Ann to have a conversation. We got the conversation with the couple last year where the girl left the pods. They had a conversation at a restaurant and they almost had like their closure piece, and they decided not to talk to each other because I think she was going to try to come back and talk with
Oh,
him.
yeah. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't get
So
the
I
name.
get there's a closer conversation. It does not need to have it does not need to happen at 5 o'clock in the morning on the parking lot of a bar. Like, no, that does not need to happen. Now, moving on to Laura, I completely understand. And I am not upset with her for being upset with him for having that conversation at 5 o'clock in the morning on a parking lot, right?
Fair.
However, I do feel like she brought some unresolved feelings around him choosing her and possibly choosing Sarah Ann, because we saw like maybe I was about to say a couple of episodes. It's not like it's a whole bunch of them, but we saw in an earlier part of that episode or a previous episode where she was just simply upset with him having potentially seen how she looks, right? And that conversation with her family where she was like, oh, I saw his phone and blah, blah, blah. He brought you the DM. He let you see it. He was being open and honest, but I think she just has some unresolved stuff. I don't know what their communication looked like, but I believe she brought all that to that conversation to be had. This is also one last thing I'll say about well, two things. The one thing that I don't like about this being a show, which again, I am going to watch every season that they release. So I understand this is a show. But
Right.
you could tell that conversation where Jeremy had his glasses on and she asked him to take it off. They had already had that conversation. You can tell that Netflix or the producers or whomever was like, hey, we need to have this conversation on camera. So let's bring that back. And I was like, that could be like re-traumatizing, re-triggering, like we don't need to rehash this stuff. So that's the part I didn't like about it. But again, I understand it. It's a show. We need to see it. The other thing I didn't care for with that is once they were all together at that barbecue, for 80 to go to Sarah, if Laura wasn't going to go to Sarah, that conversation shouldn't have happened. Because the only people who should have called, really the only person that should have, the only people, I'll go back, the only people that should have called out that conversation is one, Jeremy, if he really responded in the way that he should have, when it's like, I chose her, this is not appropriate for you to be saying these things. We do need to have closure, but that doesn't mean we need to have a full-blown conversation. So he could have called her out. And then Laura could have called her out because she's actually the woman in this situation. 80 having that conversation again, I think Sarah Ann said it, and I probably said it as well. Baby, you have plenty to worry about. Please don't come over here talking to Sarah Ann. Like there was no reason for that.
I agree with everything you said. My only highlight of that whole, I guess, love triangle was Jeremy's mom when I don't know, I think there was like at the dog park, and I guess Jeremy was telling his mom what happened, and his mom was like, she has every right to be mad at you because I think his mom said something like, Oh, she waited up for you? Like, I would have been waiting up, and we would have been banging when you
Yeah.
came in the house. Like, I was
The
like,
moms
"Okay."
were momming this season, okay?
Listen, moms were like, "Listen, don't play with me." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Y'all was some thugs back in the day."
Yeah, listen,
Y'all are
listen.
some thugs back in the day. So, moving on to the 2 weddings.
Ooh,
Well, we
child.
went from 5 to 2. I was like, "This should be a short episode." That's why it's only one
That's why it's
wedding
only
episode.
because I was confused. Like I was like, okay, there's 2 episodes. It's the real world, and then we're moving to the wedding day. It's only 1 episode, okay, and then we see
And
why. But yeah,
I mean, the one wedding episode was an hour and some change. And I was like, why
Mhm.
is it so long? And I was like, oh, somebody must be about to break up at the altar. And ding, 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 it happened. So we got, let's first up is Clay and AD.
Mhm. Clay
I took a long
to
deep breath because I didn't even know, like, how do we start this off?
to me, Clay said no to AD way before the altar.
Oh, for
When they
sure.
when they had that conversation and he verbalized that he was not ready to get married and he wanted to keep dating her, and AD even said, "If you say no to me at the altar, it's a no." She should have known right there, like, "Ooh, we need to have some deeper conversations." A friend of mine, one of my line sisters and I were talking about this, and she has said something along the lines of like, "What did they ever really come back from?" Or did I have that conversation with you?
And you had it with your
Okay, so
line
then it has to
sister.
be my line sister.
Mm.
So she was like, "What did they ever really come back from?" And when I thought about it, I was like, "You know what? I don't know what deep conversations they were having. Like they weren't having. They were just really physically attracted to each other and living and loving in lust, if you ask me."
Mm,
But again, going back to that point, AD or Clay said no to AD then, and I think he continued because he tried. I do believe that he genuinely tried to see if he could make it to the altar and get to a point to where he could say yes. I do wish that, and I don't know how the production works of when you have to let them know before that, because they let Jimmy and Chelsea go, but that was right before, that was at the very beginning of the wedding episode. So I don't know how deep you're in until they said, like, no, you have to go to the altar.
right.
And then did you see the clip I sent you on TikTok? There was a TikTok video where somebody pointed out that he at the altar mouthed the word no to her, like he was trying to tell her to say no.
I did not see
Yeah, check your TikTok,
that. Check my tiki
messages. I s
tack.
check your TikTok. I sent you a video, and whether he was saying no, like, "I'm going to say no," or whether he was saying to her no, like, "Say no,"
Mhm.
she was so wrapped up in being at the altar and being in that dress, which the slit was a wee bit too high for
I
me,
was
like,
like,
the
"Girl, I see your coochie."
yeah, the leg that the split was on was fine, but then you have to think about when that other leg comes forward, I was like,
Mhm.
"This is a little bit too much," but I think I do think that he tried to protect her. I do think that he was genuine in his apology to her, and I appreciated that he, validated her and was like, "I'm not rejecting you. I don't believe when I
Yes.
look in my mirror and when I look in the mirror and ask myself, am I a husband? I say no. And if I
Mhm.
can't do that for you, I don't want to go the extra mile." I truly,
I appreciated that
truly
too.
appreciated that. However,
Comma, space.
comma face. When he said to her, "Can I have a hug?" I said, "Cringe." It just, my body, just like my blood curled because so many, it was, that was a "Hey big head" text. It was very much so like a, "Let me see if I can kiss you and if you physically still respond to me. Let me see if I still have an in with you."
Mm.
And the point in that moment was not about where do we go from here. The point in that moment was to process and sit in the fact that you just told her no. And she is still processing the fact that she pretty much was told no at the altar and
Mhm.
she was ready to go full forward, right? We
It
see
was
all
a
the time.
safety thing. I'm sorry. That
Yeah.
was a safety thing. That was
Yeah.
a can I get a hug that way I can feel you and I can feel safe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
need something right now. I don't know how to say that I need something. So let me get a hug so I can get at least what I think I need. And
Mhm.
then on her end, she's like, well, of course you can get a hug, but I'm still mad at you. But I also know if
Mhm.
I go in for a hug, it's like I'm reopening
Yes.
these wounds that I'm trying to close right now because you literally
Mhm.
just embarrassed me in front of the altar. Okay, go. I'm sorry.
No, I would just that whole thing of like you said is safety. And it was again, I truly believe he was genuine in what
Mhm.
he said to her. But when he did that, it was
It kinda like
I did
unraveled
not like it.
everything.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all. It was very dare I say manipulative because even if
Mm.
he had just it wasn't just the can I have a hug it when he said that it triggered the feeling in me when I'm walking down the street and somebody says like, "Oh, you should smile," or like, and it's like, no, like let me be in whatever feelings I'm in right now. Again, he was putting himself first and thinking about safety. But even if he had stopped at just a hug, I could have stomached the cringe that I felt. He went on to kiss her over and over and over, and I was like, "Oh god, please, barf."
Well, I agree with Clay. And I wholeheartedly was like, I'm glad he said no because he
Mhm,
knew that he wasn't ready. And
mhm,
I was like, that took a lot of balls to do that, and
mhm,
guts and bravery and good old vulnerability, right?
mhm.
The courage to say what you need to say in the moment. And AD, this is where my issue came in with AD.
Let's talk about it.
Clay literally said, "This has nothing to do with you. This has everything to do with me. I am jacked up. I need to go to therapy. I need to work on me in order for me to be a husband." Everything was
Mhm,
I.
mhm.
This girl took that and said, "I am rejected. I am not good enough. I can't be a wife now." And it's like, wow, wow, wow,
And the
wow.
reason why is because you remember she said, "I'm so tired of carrying these relationships." This is something she has done before. So she did not go into this situation or into this experiment with a clean slate.
Oh
She did not come in with a clean slate because when he said that, she wasn't even able to see him for who he was in
no.
that moment or
Yes.
appreciate the validation he was providing her in that moment because she immediately, we talk about that EQ regression, she immediately regressed back
Mhm.
to this is similar or this is triggering what I've been through before with carrying these relationships. And when she said that, when I tell you, I leaned on my knee and got close and I said, "Baby, why are you carrying relationships?" She said,
Yes.
"I wasn't enough for him to be a better man." We have got to stop dating potential. We have got to stop it.
Can we
And
just sit in
Clay
that?
has
That
an
Wait,
amazing
hold on, Candace. Sit in that. Just can we sit in? We gotta stop dating potential. Can we just
Yes.
sit in that? Just let it marinate because again, she called herself a fixer hoe.
Yes.
She called herself a fixer hoe, which lets me know that all you've done is date potential.
Yes.
All
And
you've
to be
done is date
clear,
potential.
there's nothing wrong with being with someone and saying, "Oh, I know how." Let me just say, like, I don't know how this is going to come across, but I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at someone that you're dating and saying, "You know what? I see ways in which you could be elevated. I see ways in which you can be enhanced." Right. But this is looking at someone and being like, "You're already a 10 out of 10. I see how you can be an 11. I see how you can be a
Mm,
12. I see how the
mhm.
skills and what I have and like the energy that I bring and the support and love that I bring could just take you to higher heights, right?" Dating potential is you're currently a 2. Let me fix you and do what I can to get you to a 10. We're not
There you
doing that.
go.
We're
There you
not
go.
doing that.
Yes.
Man, that hurt me. I was
Yes.
like, golly. I hope that she gets the help that she needs because that's not her job.
No, it's not.
That's
That
not her
is
job.
that, whose job that is? Jesus the Christ. Okay. You cannot you cannot fix someone else because you can barely fix yourself because you need
Mhm,
Jesus to fix yourself anyway. So what makes you
mhm,
think you can fix somebody else if you need help yourself to fix yourself? Like,
mhm,
let's get it together. Let's stop. Please stop trying to fix people and making people projects.
mhm. And
Because
like you said earlier, she was too focused on the outcome, the
she was
ring, the wedding.
too
Mhm,
focused. Like, she was so consumed with getting married that she again ignored the red flags, painted her
mhm,
nails red, and had a matching outfit to go with it. And I'm like, girl, you said he was a rocking red flag in the past, but then you decided to still get engaged to him. You should have just went home, but you didn't want to go home. That's why we here.
that's why we here.
And that's why what happened, what happened. See, you be disobedient.
We have all been disobedient. The thing is to learn and grow. And it
Yes.
does not sound, and again, we don't know AD's prior relationships, how many she has had, how long they have lasted, and things like that. But from her saying that statement of I'm tired of carrying relationships, I'm never
Mhm.
enough to make somebody better. She has the expectation that that is what a godly woman is supposed to do. I'm supposed to stand by my man. I'm supposed to support you and things like that. And it's like, I can stand by you and support you as a whole individual. I'm not here to be your therapist. I'm not
Mm,
here to be your nurse. I'm not
mm.
here to be your mother. And Clay has an amazing mother, okay?
Listen, because the way she clapped back to his
Said, Clay need to get somebody like you. He need to date somebody like his mama. And she said, you had me, you dated me, and you treated me bad.
there you go. I
I
was like,
said, well,
wow.
well,
Wow. And when she said
which
it, all you saw the face was just you saw the instant crackness of
mm-hmm,
his face. Like
mm-hmm.
I might pick it up. It's so
Pick
many
it up,
pieces.
baby.
It's so many pieces. Just sweep it on up because she cracked your face on national TV.
Correct. One other thing I'll say about this, and then we can go on to Johnny and Amy.
It's nothing to say about them, but
Well, I think there's something I want to call out, not in a bad way, but I think there's something because we talk about relationships and all the toxic sides of it, and I really want to make sure that we elevate like what possibly why it is that they are successful, right?
okay.
The other thing that I want to call out about AD, and again, we love going on the social medias and seeing what's happening in conversations while we're all watching this as a community. Somebody called out, why didn't they remove those children, her nieces,
Mm,
when all of this
mm,
was happening? And I was like,
mm.
that was one of the first things that came to mind. She's sitting there crying. Clearly, there's other people in the audience that know you. There's plenty of sisters that you have. Somebody could have taken those two girls and removed them.
Yes, I was thinking like, why are they there? They don't need to.
Why?
They don't need to see. They don't need to see their auntie, or I think that was. I think they were her
Yeah.
nieces. Yeah, they don't need to see her auntie. Crying her heart out. One, they just saw her get rejected at the altar,
Yes. Mhm.
right? So now that's planted in their brain. Now you're seeing
Mhm.
the pain of
Mhm.
someone that you love that got rejected at the altar. That could be that could be an imprint right
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. And it's not that I'm saying that she can't have the conversation with her nieces or that
Absolutely,
that's
yeah.
not something to be had. But in that moment, again, it was all about AD needing to process the raw emotions that she was having. And just like we said that these people on this show, their brains just developed at the age of 25. You have these nieces who, going back to your point of these experiences being an imprint, this can be an imprint because their brains are still developing. Like
Yeah.
this is if this is how you are and she was very open in what she was saying with them,
Yes.
and that's the beginning of that messaging as
Yep.
to why AD probably is the way that she is.
Yeah. And going back to something you said about a godly woman and how they supposed to treat their men, I think the church did a very bad job at talking about relationships. They put married people on the pedestal and they put single people as something is wrong with them. And
Mhm.
but you gotta stay pure because you can't be out here sexing, but you gotta stay
Mhm.
pure. And I really wish the church would have did a better job and still need to do a better job at
Mhm.
talking about how or what you're supposed to be doing while you're single, how you're supposed to
Mhm.
build yourself up, how you're supposed to get in alignment with God to figure out, hey, this is what God want me to do in the time of being
Mhm.
single. And when that person comes, the person comes. It's okay to wait. It's okay to be content. It's okay to be all of that. So I don't know what the church has taught AD if she goes to church. I don't know, baby girl do.
Mhm.
But as a whole, I wish the message of being single is actually a really good thing.
Here's what I appreciated about Johnny and Amy. Johnny and Amy had some very heavy
They
conversations.
did.
I think there's conversations to continue being had, but I
Mhm.
appreciated their openness to not only bring those conversations up, but to listen to each other and even return back to the conversation if they felt like something wasn't complete, right? So I
Mhm.
appreciated that about them. The difference that we see with how Johnny and Amy when they made it to the altar, the thing that I appreciated is that it seems like the other couples, whether they made it to the altar or not, we're really focused on how are we being perceived, almost like this performative way of showing up with each other.
Mhm.
And part of that is, like you said, you're trying to put your best foot forward. You're still, even though you're engaged, you're technically still getting to know this person. We're still trying to put, our best face out there. But I think with Johnny and Amy, I don't know how they did it. I think this is one of those situations where even if they weren't now, of course, if they weren't in the pods and they saw each other, they may not have gone for each other because I think they both even said that about each other that they wouldn't have gone for each other. But they both give me that they are open to being very honest and vulnerable in conversations. And so, on the one hand, I think that is why they made it to the altar. The other thing was really being able to have that support of your family,
Mhm.
and not even to the point to where it's just like, oh, we just go along with it, but just having those conversations. Cause even Amy had said, like, if my father doesn't give his blessing, I can't go through with this marriage. Again, a difficult conversation to be had. And she made it very clear.
Mhm.
Here's what it is. But then also her father's willingness to be like, you're happy. Let's take a chance on you being happy.
Mhm.
Versus when I think about AD's mom gave, I'm happy you're getting married. Not
Mm.
I'm happy you're happy.
Mm.
Not I'm happy that you're specifically with Clay. Just like you want that fairy tale wedding, just like you want to be married, I want you to be married. And here we're checking off this box as
Mm.
success because you have a ring, or you would have had a ring on your finger. Versus with Amy's dad, we saw like I am open to learning more. I'm open to this experiment because you are happy, not because you're getting
Mhm.
married, because you are happy. And I think that's the difference that we see with those two.
I think that's all the successful couples on Love Is Blind. Like they're
Mhm.
open to new opportunities. Like I think way back to season 1 with Lauren and
Cameron.
oh, Cameron. Thank you. I knew it was
Do
C.
you watch the show, girl?
I do. I just be forgetting people's names, child. I forget your name. This is in real life too. But anyway,
Mhm.
Lauren and Cameron, like they were both open. And they were open to, and they had tough conversations. I think every couple who've been on the show that's still married have had tough conversations and have been open and had continued to have tough
Mhm.
conversations throughout the show. And I think that's why when they got to the altar, it was just like, yeah, I know this person. Whereas versus the people who broke up, like I could think of the one black couple from Chicago. They didn't know each other. They didn't know each other. The
Was that
black,
Jared and Ayana?
yes.
That season is why we have now them bringing in people who were in the pods that didn't make it to engagement, because the first season we didn't get that. I'm pretty sure in the first season we didn't get that, but then in the second season you had Jared and Ayana, and then Jared was also at one point dating, I can't remember what her name
That
was,
other girl. Hmm.
and the production team said, "Oh, new level of drama? Great. Let's do that. Let's figure out how to make sure that that happens all the time." The other thing that I was going to say, and this is the last thing that I'll say about this whole thing, is I want people to believe in relationships in general. I want people to believe in themselves as an individual a little bit more, and really be okay with who they are before they enter relationships. There were so many people this season, and I'm pretty sure in seasons past, and I don't know if it adds to the magic of being in a relationship or the magic of being married, but so many people was like, I never thought this would happen to me. Like, I didn't think I would come here and find my wife. I didn't think I would find a husband. That's the point of the show, is to come here and find your spouse. Like, why is it that if that's the point and you found it, that's just like if I went to the grocery store and was like, oh my God, I didn't think I would find a pineapple here. Like, what? Even if you weren't going to look, well, and in this case, because I was going to say, even if I wasn't going to the store to look for a pineapple and there was one there, then that's great. But in this case, you are going because you want to find a spouse, you want to get married, the opportunity is there. So then why are you shocked? And I really think that comes back to, I didn't think somebody would accept me as I am.
Mm.
I didn't think that I was worthy of a relationship or I was worthy of being married because of something that I have going on inside. And it's like, I need you to that together
Hmm.
before trying to come on a show like this or enter a relationship, period.
because half these people need therapists anyway. Ain't nothing wrong with therapy,
Ain't nothing.
right?
Listen.
Nothing's wrong with therapy. It's just, again, when you get in a relationship and those mirrors start to mirroring, like there's some things that people do need to work on. And whether you've been in therapy for 10 years, I know somebody who's been in therapy forever just because they like, I got therapist on retainer. Like, if I see something, I'm going back, and I think that's totally fine. Not having a therapist is probably not totally fine. Let's just normalize going to therapy.
It's just like a doctor. You go get your little checkup, have your little conversations. It's a very unbiased, once you find the match for you, because the therapist is also like dating. Okay.
Yeah.
Once you find the person that is for you, the therapist, the clinician that's for you, that is the space to be open. That is the space to just say, here's the bullshit I'm dealing with. What help me navigate through this before you go into a relationship. Or if you're already in a relationship and something is coming up, hey, let me just navigate through this, because what you're doing is navigating through what you as an individual are processing around your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own actions. And then you can take that information back to your partner. It is great to have a conversation with your partner. It is great to have the support of your partner. It is great to be able to kind of process things with your partner. That comes if there are two healthy people, or two people who are self-aware, or two people who have made that commitment to each other to have that space. And oftentimes what we see is trauma bonding or trauma dumping, or using our behaviors or our feelings or our thoughts in very manipulative ways, like we saw with Chelsea. And it's like, that is not okay.
No, and then that also creates spaces that are not safe, and then that's how we get breakups. And that's how we get breakups, or people are walking on eggshells. So yeah, thank you, Candace, for your thoughts today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we got to get you on here to talk about some other things other than Love is Blind. But, Love is Blind is coming out in the fall. I think they're going to be in, I saw where they're going to be, but I forgot. But I know they come back out in the fall with another season.
With another Ultimatum, because Ultimatum is also a pretty interesting concept.
Okay. That means we got to That means you coming back to talk about the Ultimatum. Yay. So Candace will be back.
Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up.
Candace will be back. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. As always, tell your auntie, your uncle, and cousin and them. And stay non-toxic. And come back and see me every Monday or every other Monday. Depends on how I feel. I'm going to put out an episode on Monday. Stay classy, folks. Peace.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and share this episode with your family and friends. Don't forget to check out the quiz to figure out what your toxic trait is. The link is in the show notes. Thank you, and see you next time.